Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. The night was like a heavy blanket pressed against the cold Montana winter night, and the world outside the car window was so dark that it seemed to be drenched in ink. Nathan Hunter stared at the ceiling, fully awake, his military instincts refusing to let him sleep peacefully even after years of retirement. Every creak of a house, every slap of wind against a wall, created an alarm in his head with tactical precision. The red light of the digital alarm clock cuts into the darkness. 2:14 a.m. The temperature outside has dropped to minus 11 degrees Fahrenheit, and the heating system is fighting the cold with a low moan. Nathan moves his 6 feet 3 inches frame and makes the bed springs protest. Sleep was always hard to come by when Ryan wasn't home. This weekend, the boy went to Vanessa's house for the weekend as per the court's rules. Nathan hates these visits and hates putting his son in that woman's orbit. But the court has rules, and he's abiding by them for now. The cell phone on the nightstand suddenly vibrated, the screen casting a harsh blue light. An unfamiliar number, Nathan's stomach tensed. Late night calls often brought ominous news. "Mr. Hunter," came a clinical and precise female voice on the other end of the line. "I'm Nurse Matthews from Roswell Regional Hospital." The words hit him like cannon fire. "What's wrong?" "It's your son, Ryan. You need to come immediately." Nathan was on the move before she finished, muscle memory taking over as he grabbed his clothes and car keys. "How bad is it?" "Sir, it would be best if we talked about this in person." Something in her tone made his blood curdle. "As soon as possible, please." The phone disconnected. Nathan dressed with mechanized efficiency jeans, warm shirt, boots. Even as his mind frantically envisioned scenarios, each worse than the last, his hands remained steady. The Glock pistol in the bedside drawer caught his eye, but after a moment's hesitation, he left it behind. Now was not the time. Outside, his breath forming a white mist in the frozen air, he climbed into the truck, the engine starting with a low growl as he drove onto the empty street. Roswell sleeps peacefully, unaware that someone's world is falling apart. The drive to the hospital is seared into his memory-empty intersections, the reflection of yellow lights on ice. Soft country music coming from the radio, but no one listening. His knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel so tightly, he struggled to maintain control. Roswell Regional Hospital emerged from the darkness, windows glowing like tired eyes, the entrance to the emergency room glowing with a harsh fluorescent light. Automatic doors opening as he approached. A nurse looked up from the front desk and recognized him. "Mr. Hunter, please follow me." She led him through corridors that seemed to stretch indefinitely, each step echoing on sterile tiles, the smell of disinfectant irritating his nostrils, bringing back memories of field hospitals in Afghanistan. The kind that meant blood wasn't far from the metallic scent. They stopped outside a room where 2 police officers stood guard as Nathan approached. One of the officers' hands drifted toward his weapon, reading the tension in his body. "Your son is stable," the nurse said softly, touching his arm. "But please be prepared." Nothing could have prepared him for what he saw in front of him. Ryan lay in his hospital bed, tiny, broken, his face like a bruised canvas, for lines snaking up his arm. The monitoring equipment surrounding him like mechanical vultures. His right arm was encased in a cast, bandages wrapped around his torso. The boy's chest rose and fell with shallow, agonizing breaths. "Dad." Ryan's voice was almost a whisper. Nathan moved to his son's side, careful not to touch the medical equipment. Each step felt like walking through quicksand. "I'm here, lad. I'm right here." Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes, tracing paths between the bruises. "I'm sorry. I tried to be brave, like you taught me." "You have nothing to apologize for," Nathan said as he gently touched his son's uninjured hand, noting the scrapes on his knuckles. His boy fought back. Pride and anger mingled in his chest. "Can you tell me what happened?" Ryan's bottom lip trembled as fear clouded his eyes, not from pain, but from the fear of telling the truth. "Mom and her boyfriend," he said as if each word brought physical pain. "They said if you didn't give her the house, they'd keep hurting me." The words hung in the air like poisonous gas. Nathan felt something inside him change. A door that had been locked since he left the commandos was opening. A place where violence lives and mercy dies. He kept his voice steady, protecting his son from the anger that was building inside him. "You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you again." This promise carries the weight of absolute truth. A middle-aged doctor entered the room, record board in hand, with kind eyes that had seen too much pain. "Mr. Hunter, I'm Dr. Reeves, and we need to discuss your son's injuries." The list of injuries is methodical and clinical. 3 rib fractures on the left side, a fracture on the right arm, defensive wounds, extensive bruising on the torso and face, possible internal bleeding requiring monitoring, and defensive wounds on the arm. Each wound tells a story of deliberate cruelty, a calculated abuse designed to inflict maximum pain without killing. The pattern of injuries, Dr. Reeves said cautiously, suggests multiple impacts, both punches and marks from a suspected belt or similar object. It's not a single incident of anger. It's systemic. Nathan absorbed every detail, mentally recording every wound, every mark, piece of evidence, ammunition. How long? Bruising shows different stages of healing. I estimate that the abuse has been going on for weeks, escalating in severity. Weeks. Those words hit Nathan like a physical blow. His son had been suffering, and he hadn't even known it, hadn't protected him. "The police will want your statement," Dr. Reeves added, glancing at the officer at the door. "But your son needs to rest now. We've given him painkillers, and he'll be asleep soon." Nathan nodded, his thoughts already planning his next move. He kept watch until Ryan's eyes closed, watching his chest rise and fall until he was sure he had fallen asleep, and then stepped out into the hallway to talk to the police. Detective Daniels introduces himself, shakes hands too hard, too eagerly. His partner stood back, taking notes, remaining silent. There was something about Daniels that alerted Nathan, that smile that didn't reach the bottom of his eyes, the deliberate show of concern. "We need to make a formal statement," Daniels said, pulling out a small notepad. "But informally, how is your relationship with Vanessa Hunter Caldwell?" "Ex-wife," Nathan replied, keeping his voice neutral. "We've been divorced for 2 years, and she remarried 6 months ago." "And her new husband?" "Boyfriend, Elliot Brooks. Prior convictions, 3 violent crime convictions." Daniel's eyebrows rose slightly. "You've done your research." "I protect what's mine, detective." The words carried a weight Daniels wouldn't miss. "Well, we'll play by the rules," Daniel's smile rippled. "Let's do our job and not take revenge personally, understand? We don't want the investigation to be jeopardized." Nathan looked him straight in the eye without blinking. "Of course not." He waited until the police left before pulling out his cell phone. The number he dialed hadn't changed in 15 years, since their last mission together. "Cole, it's Nathan." He took a deep breath, steel in his voice. "They hurt my son." There was silence on the other end of the line for several heartbeats. When Cole West spoke, his voice was filled with determination. "When do we start?" "Now. Meet me at Vanessa's in half an hour." Nathan ended the call and looked back through the window of his hospital room. Ryan was asleep, his face still wreathed in pain even under the effects of his medication. The sight was seared into his memory as fuel for the upcoming operation. His cell phone vibrates, and he receives a text message from Cole. "Like Operation Damascus?" Nathan came back with one word. "Worse." He touches the glass that separates him from his son, making another silent promise. Vanessa thinks she knows him, thinks she can control him through Ryan. She's about to learn how wrong she is. The man she married, the man who played by the rules of society, that man was gone. In his place was someone else, someone she had created through her own cruelty. Leaving the hospital, Nathan feels change envelop him like armor, the civilian exterior peeling away to reveal the warrior underneath. Vanessa wants to play games of pain and fear? Fine, he'll show her what a real monster looks like. Driving to his suburban home in Vanessa, Nathan had time to plan. Streetlights cast pools of yellow light on the empty sidewalks as he made his way through the affluent neighborhood, where money bought the illusion of safety and perfect lawns and white picket fences hid their dark secrets. Vanessa's house stands on its own, newer and more expensive than the neighbors. But the money is what she took from him in the divorce. Cole's black pickup has parked a block away, its dark silhouette blending into the shadows. As Nathan approaches, Cole emerges, and even in civilian clothes, his demeanor maintains the deadly grace of a predator alert, dangerous, ready. They shake hands briefly, and no words are needed between the two men. 15 years of combat duty have formed a bond deeper than blood. "Sure about this?" Cole finally spoke, his breath forming a white mist in the cold air. "She crossed the line." Nathan's voice was flat, She hurt my son. I'll look out. Cole checked his phone, displaying a tactical map of the area, marking 2 escape routes. No police scanner activity in the area. She won't call the cops. Nathan adjusted his jacket. She likes to handle things herself. The porch light came on just before Nathan knocked on the door and Vanessa opened it, wearing a designer robe and an expression of trained concern. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled even for this time of year, always performing, always concerned with appearances. Seeing her made Nathan's stomach turn. Nathan, her voice dripped with false sweetness. What brings you here so late? Don't pretend. Vanessa, you know why I'm here. She sidestepped out of the way and gestured for him to enter the house. The house is immaculate, everything arranged with obsessive-compulsive precision. The walls are covered with family photos, hers and Ryan's carefully arranged to show the perfect mother-son relationship, the kind of lie that Vanessa specializes in. Want some coffee? She headed for the kitchen. We should discuss this like adults. Discuss what? How do you let your psycho boyfriend beat up my son? Or how do you watch it all happen? Nathan stayed standing, watching her movements. Vanessa's mask slips temporarily, revealing the darkness beneath, her eyes turning cold as reptiles. Accident, Nathan. Kids fall, they get hurt. But you can prevent future accidents. Is this blackmail? What an ugly word, she said as she opened the cupboard and pulled out an expensive coffee mug, her hands steady, skillful. I prefer to think of it as negotiation. We all want what's best for Ryan, don't we? Best for Ryan? Anger burned in Nathan's chest, but he kept his voice steady. He's in the hospital with a broken bone. Whose fault is this anyway? Vanessa turned to face him, leaning against the granite countertop, her smile sharp as a razor. You can end this, Nathan. Sign away the house, and maybe Ryan won't have to suffer anymore. You think you know me. Nathan stepped closer, closer, watching her confidence falter. You think because I play by the rules and follow court orders that means I'm weak. Isn't it? She cocked her head and studied him. Such a dutiful ex-husband, so careful to keep the peace, so afraid of losing custody that he would swallow any insult, any provocation. You never understood how much it cost me to control myself. His voice lowered and became more dangerous. And what I can do when someone threatens my family. Are you threatening me, Nathan? Asked Vanessa, her hand drifting toward the kitchen drawer. In my own home? No, Vanessa, I'm educating you. He smiled, and something in his expression made her take a step back. You thought hurting Ryan would break me and make me give you what you wanted. But you miscalculated. Yeah. She sidled to one side, trying to keep the distance between them. Look at you, coming in here in the middle of the night, desperate to protect your precious son, sounding broken. No, you just reminded me of my true self, who I was before I met you. Nathan's gaze never left her face. The man who played house with you, the man who tried to be civil, he's gone. When you hurt our son, you killed him. That's quite an act, but her voice trembled slightly. Elliot won't like you threatening me. Elliot should worry about himself. Nathan turned to leave, then stopped. Tell him to watch his back. And, Vanessa, remember what happened to the last person who threatened my family. You can't touch me. Her composure cracked, revealing the fear beneath. I'll call the police. No, you wouldn't. Because deep down you know what's going to happen next. He locked eyes with her one last time. You created this situation, Vanessa. When it all comes crashing down, remember this. He left her standing in her perfect kitchen, his hands gripping the countertop, his knuckles white with exertion. Outside, Cole followed him. She's scared, Cole observed, under that ice. Good. Nathan checked his cell phone. No messages from the hospital. It's time to show her fear. They walked in silence, the frost crunching beneath their feet. The night felt different, full of purpose. She'll warn Elliot, Cole said as they walked to their respective cars. Let her be, it's okay. Cole nodded, understanding in his eyes. Your house. Yes, it's time to wake up some old ghosts. They drive separately in case Vanessa sends someone to keep an eye on them. Nathan's house is an older ranch-style home set back from the road, surrounded by trees, private, and defensible. He chose those qualities after the divorce. Inside, Nathan leads Cole to the basement. The safe looks ordinary, but behind it, another door is hidden in the wall. The cash hadn't been touched in years, but everything remained intact. Weapons glinted in the dim light: rifles, pistols, tactical gear. a small arsenal, meticulously maintained and completely untraceable. Nathan ran his fingers over his old commando manual, and memories came flooding back. Missions in places that officially didn't exist, doing things the government denied. You kept it all, Cole said as he examined the mechanics of a silenced pistol. Some habits are hard to die from, Nathan began, laying out his gear with skillful efficiency. Vanessa thinks she knows me, understands what I'll do. She expects me to be civilized and play by the rules. Her mistake. His cell phone vibrated, and his expression became more somber as he checked. My contact at the hospital said Vanessa tried to visit Ryan and security stopped her. She won't stop pressuring, Nathan loaded, his voice precise and familiar. Then we fight back even harder until she realizes what kind of devil she's created. Cole nodded, easing back into their old rhythm. It's like the Damascus mission. Worse than Damascus. Nathan examined another weapon. This time it's personal. They worked all night, planning, preparing, every piece of equipment checked and rechecked, maps spread out, escape routes marked, contingencies planned. It was not anger that drove them, but calm, organized purpose. As dawn broke over the Montana mountains, Nathan stood at his kitchen window, watching the light turn the snow blood red. His cell phone beeped as a text came in from the hospital that Ryan was awake and asking for him. I need to see my son, he told Cole, and then we'll start. Cole nodded, understanding in his eyes. I'll make some calls, get things running. By tonight, we'll know every move Elliot makes, every place he goes. Good. Nathan grabbed his keys. Because this can only end one way, by making them realize what happens when you hurt my family. He leaves Cole to work and drives back to the hospital as the town begins to wake up. Morning feels more awake, sharper, purpose replaces panic. And calm determination pushes aside fear. Vanessa makes the fatal mistake of thinking she can control him through Ryan. Instead, she awakens something she can't possibly understand. By the time this is over, she'll realize what it really means. The air in the basement thick with purpose, Nathan and Cole have transformed the space into a command center. The walls are covered with maps, satellite imagery, Roswell Street layouts, terrain surveys, each marked with precision with escape routes, blocking points, and surveillance locations. This wasn't a revenge program. This was a war. Is your contact at the county records office still active? Nathan asked, marking another spot on the map. Cole nodded, checking his encrypted cell phone. She has sent Elliot's complete file, 3 assault convictions, 2 domestic violence charges, dropped after witnesses disappeared. He handed Nathan his phone. Check out the pattern. The photos tell the story of Elliot's aging in the justice system, each showing a man who has become more confident in the face of violence. The most recent allegations were made 8 months ago, right around the time he started dating Vanessa. He likes to hurt women, Nathan said, studying the report, and children. Let him feel strong until someone stronger than him shows up. Cole's voice carried the weight of experience. Remember that warlord in Kabul who specialized in child trafficking? Nathan remembers. Some missions weren't officially sanctioned, but they were necessary. That particular target went nowhere, leaving no trace. Sometimes justice needed to operate in the shadows. She brought him into Ryan's life knowing full well what kind of man he was. Nathan moved to the weapons cabinet, selecting his tools with deliberate caution. She knew his history. She's using him, Cole said as he pulled up more data on his laptop. Elliot's just muscle. Vanessa's the real threat, always has been. I looked too late last time and won't make the same mistake this time. They work in comfortable silence, returning to a rhythm established through years of combat operations. Cole handles electronic surveillance, setting up surveillance systems to track the movement of targets. And Nathan focuses on tactical planning, mapping out scenarios and reactions. Your medical contact sent Ryan's full report, Cole said after a moment, his voice tight with anger. The x-rays show an old fracture that's partially healed. It's not the first time. Nathan stopped the weapon he was cleaning. How long has it been? At least 2 months, based on bone healing rates. They've been hurting him and covering it up. Cole turned the laptop so Nathan could see. Look at the bruise patterns, professional maneuvers designed to cause pain without leaving visible marks. The anger boiling in Nathan's chest congealed into something colder, more focused. Elliot's done this before. It's in his record. beating a child without leaving visible marks. Vanessa knew that when she chose him. She's playing the longer game. Cole pulled the real estate records. That house you bought together tripled in value after the tech company announced their new campus neighborhood. She wants to go back and use Ryan as leverage. Nathan moved to the planning table and spread out the surveillance photos. She always knew how to hurt people at their weakest point. Cole watched his friend work, recognizing the shift that was taking place, the civilian exterior peeling away to reveal the operator underneath. They'd seen this before in people who'd been pushed too far. The Damascus program? Cole asked softly. Nathan nods. There are modifications. It's not about a quick kill. It's about dismantling their world piece by piece. The Damascus program had been a specialty of their forces, systematically destroying the enemy's infrastructure and physically and psychologically crushing their opponents before the final blow was struck. Elliot first, Nathan continued, marking the location on the map. He runs illegal fights, places bets, and peddles drugs from that bar on the east side. That's his power base. Take that away, and he's just another thug. Cole tuned out the blueprints for the bar. But he's got connections, local hitmen, corrupt cops, including Detective Daniels. Nathan nodded at the officer's picture. My source at the police department says he's taking money from Elliot, taking money to close his eyes. They spent the next hour building targeting packages, detailed dossiers on everyone in Elliot and Vanessa's orbit, corrupt officials, partners in crime, anyone who helped them hurt Ryan. Each one is a pressure point waiting to be exploited. Nathan's phone vibrated with another update from the hospital. He read the message and his expression hardened. Vanessa is attempting visitation again, this time with a court order claiming parental rights. He shows Cole the text message, hospital security holding their ground, but she's escalating. She won't stop applying pressure. Cole checks his weapon. Does she know? No. Nathan moved to the safe and entered the complex combination code. That's why we start now. The safe opens to reveal a hidden compartment. It holds specialized equipment from their last mission, items that officially don't exist, tools designed for a job the government denies. These aren't registered, Cole observed, examining a customized rifle. Neither do we, Nathan began, assembling his gear with skillful efficiency. Once we start, there's no turning back. Are you sure you want to do this? Cole responded by checking his weapons. They hurt your boy, and it's personal to both of us. A brotherhood forged in battle doesn't end with retirement papers. Some bonds run deeper than blood or the law. They spent the next hour going over contingency plans, escape routes, safe houses, emergency protocols, everything planned with military precision. This is not revenge. Revenge is emotional and messy. It's about surgically removing a threat. Elliot's got fight night tonight, Cole said, checking the surveillance info on his laptop. It goes until midnight, and he always stays until the end to count his money. Good, Nathan said as he studied the layout of the bar again. We start with his power base, hit his income, his reputation, make him feel vulnerable, and then we isolate him from his protection. Cole's marking police patrol routes on the map. Daniels is on duty tonight. We need to work around his schedule. Put him to work. Nathan's smile was icy. By the time he reacts, there's nothing left to protect. They synchronize their watches and check their gear one last time. Each piece chosen with purpose, nothing traceable, the kind of tool that would reduce Elliot's empire to ashes without pointing at them. One last thing. Nathan moved to a locked cabinet and removed a small box. It held syringes, filled with clear liquid. Insurance in case things get complicated. Cole recognizes the contents, something from their last mission, an insurance policy that leaves no trace in an autopsy. It's not just about stopping them, Cole realized. You have to destroy them completely. They hurt my son. Nathan's voice was like ice. Everything they built, everything they cared about, all burned down until they realized what they created when they crossed that line. The basement feels different, full of deadly purpose. It's not the angry father from the hospital or the restrained ex-husband from Vanessa's family. This is something else, something forged in a war zone and sharpened by betrayal. Nathan checks his cell phone one last time, and a picture of Ryan on happier days. The boy's smile, unmarked by fear or pain, reminds him why this is necessary. Time to move, he said, securing his gear. It's like old times, Cole replies, getting into the swing of things. They climbed the basement stairs, each step taking them further away from the civilian world and deeper into the familiar darkness. Tonight, Elliot will learn what real violence is, and this is just the beginning. Vanessa thought she could control situations through fear and pain. She's about to learn that some people can't be controlled, they can only be released. The Montana night waits outside, cold and unforgiving. Perfect conditions for the hunter and perfect conditions for becoming prey. The broken bottle bar crouches on the edge of Roswell's industrial neighborhood like a wounded animal. Paint peels off the walls, neon beer signs flash in the dirty windows. But the parking lot is full. Elliot Brooks' fight night draws a blood-hungry crowd. Nathan and Cole watch from a surveillance position in a vacant office building across the street. With the high-powered optics, they could see everything. The steady stream of people entering. The thugs checking for weapons at the door. The money exchanging hands. The four guards outside. Elliot is reigning supreme at his usual table, Cole reported, marking the location on his tablet. Two guards are inside, next to the cage. Nathan adjusts his scope to focus on Elliot. The man was stretched out in his chair like a cheap king, accepting tribute from fighters and gamblers alike. His knuckles are bandaged. He's already engaged in the violence of the night. He's getting careless, Nathan observed. No sentries on the roof, no counter-surveillance. Success breeds complacency, Cole said, pulling up thermal imaging. 37 people inside, mostly clustered around the cage. Radio crackles. The target's been drinking a lot tonight, their inside man reported. Already put 3 people in the hospital. He's smug. Perfect. Nathan checked the table. Time to remind him what real violence looks like. They move through the industrial area like ghosts, years of combat experience guiding every step. The plan is simple but effective. Destroy Elliot's power base without leaving evidence. Remember, Nathan said as they approached their first target. Tonight we are invisible, no witnesses, no trace. Elliot's prized possession is in its usual place, a custom Ford F-350, lifted and armored. The car represents everything about him, flamboyant, aggressive, purchased with blood money. Inside, his bulldog sleeps peacefully, a champion fighter used to terrorize opponents. Cole skillfully disarmed the truck. Security system military grade, Vanessa's money at work. She always likes to upgrade her toys. Nathan moved to the driver's side, and the tool appeared in his hand. How long until the next guard patrol? For minutes. They worked in silence and moved with precision. When they were done, there appeared to be no obvious interference. But the truck had extremely thin cuts in the brake lines, the steering column was destroyed, and the fuel lines were set to fail at high speeds. Now give the message, Nathan said softly. The bulldog never woke up when the needle found its mark, a more merciful death than its owners. Nathan carefully placed the animal in the passenger seat, then etched 5 words into the leather dashboard. I saw you remember Ryan. Guards approaching, Cole warned. They blended into the shadows as the guards passed by, the music of the bar muffling any sound. Inside, they could hear the crowd roaring at the end of another brawl. Phase 2, Nathan ordered. Their inside man finished his job, and they watched as the power to the bar cut out and everything fell into darkness. Chaos erupted, shouts, crashes, the sound of breaking glass. Calls are jammed, Cole confirmed, monitoring his equipment. There's no call-out. The backup generator kicked in, but the damage was done. In the chaos, no one noticed that gas lines had been carefully vandalized and water pipes had been tampered with, and would reveal themselves to be subtly damaged in the coming days. Through their communication devices, they heard Elliot's reaction to finding his dog. Who did this? His voice was muffled by alcohol and anger. Find them. I want them found now. Sir, one of his men replied. There's no sign of forced entry, no cameras catching anything. I don't care. Call Daniels and tell him to earn his money. Nathan and Cole exchanged glances, and everything went exactly as planned. Your boy is terrified, Cole observed as they moved to the next position. Great. Nathan checked his phone. A message from their hospital contact showed Vanessa had tried to visit Ryan again, but it's just the beginning. They spent the next hour documenting everything Elliot did: illegal gambling operations, drug deals that took place in back rooms, bribes passed to corrupt officials. Every piece of evidence was carefully collected and encrypted. Insurance? Cole asked. Ammunition, Nathan corrected. for when we need to turn his allies against him. Detective Daniels arrived as they had observed, his patrol car whistling shrilly into the parking lot. This corrupt cop, moving with angry purpose, was already on the phone. "We've got a problem," Cole reported, listening for intercepted signals. "Someone's watching Elliot." They listened to Daniel's voice come through the headset. "Military possible. Are you sure Nathan didn't dash?" "Nathan doesn't have the balls to do this," Vanessa interrupted icily. "Deal with it. That's what we're paying you for." Nathan smiled in the darkness. The same old Vanessa, always underestimating him, always thinking she knew best. Her mistake. They watch as Daniels coordinates a search with Elliot's men, but can't find anything. The night is over, but their work is just beginning. "It's time to move," Nathan said as the bar began to clear. "Phase 3 starts tomorrow." Elliot is intimidated, Cole noted as they retrieved their gear. "He'll make a mistake. Count on that." Nathan's voice was icy. "Fear can have that effect on people like him, making them stupid." They drove back to the safe house separately, keeping in communication through encrypted channels. Tonight's work was precise, professional, like their military days, but this time more personal. Nathan's cell phone vibrated with a message from the hospital that Ryan was having nightmares again, crying out in his sleep. The anger that drove him burned colder, sharper. Elliot thinks he understands violence because he is able to beat helpless children. Vanessa thinks she understands power because she is able to manipulate and hurt. They are about to learn how wrong they were. True violence is not about brute force. True power is not about inflicting pain. It's about precision, control, the systematic dismantling of everything your enemy holds dear. And Nathan is just getting started. Updates come in from their contact at the police station, and Cole is showing Nathan surveillance footage from their safe house command center. Elliot is rallying his men, raising the alarm and adding bodyguards. But behind these actions lurked the scent of fear, like a wounded animal that can smell a predator. "He's calling people in Missoula," Cole said, pointing to the call log on the screen. "Professional hitter with priors, trying to establish more protection." "Let him waste resources," said Nathan, who was studying a map of Elliot's daily travels. "Every dollar he consumes, every person he mobilizes, is another weakness we can exploit." Surveillance equipment catches Elliot's men massing in the night, their voices low and strained into the directional microphones. Fear is spreading, whispers about the ghosts of the night, about someone methodically hunting them. "Boss," one of Elliot's deputies said, his voice captured by their directional microphones. "Maybe we should step back and just give Hunter what he wants." The sound of flesh hitting flesh echoed through their headphones. "We don't back down," Elliot growled. "We fight back harder. Find his kid and send him home in pieces." Nathan's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Record that," he told Cole, "and add it to the evidence file." "It's done." Cole's fingers moved across the keyboard. "Going to send it to Daniels." It's not time to let them think they're still in control. At dawn, the sky painted the Montana mountains with streaks of blood and gold. They had struck the first blow, planted the first seeds of fear, and now it was time to water them with precision and pain. "Get some rest," Nathan told Cole. "We're upgrading tomorrow." But sleep doesn't come easy, not when Ryan's scarred face lingers in his mind. Not when he knows that Vanessa and Elliot are still breathing the air freely. They thought they knew what was coming, thought they could prepare for it. They were wrong. It's no longer about revenge. It's about justice, the kind of justice you won't find in a courtroom or a prison. The kind of justice that comes down in the night with a father's face and a warrior's weapon. Elliot has learned his first lesson about fear. Tomorrow, he will learn about pain. After that, Vanessa will learn what happens when you create a monster you can't control. Morning did not bring peace to Roswell Regional Hospital. Nathan sat at Ryan's bedside and watched his son struggle through another nightmare. The boy's face contorted with fear, his intact hand clutching at the sheets. "Dad," Ryan's eyes snapped open with alarm. "Are you really here?" "I'm here, lad." Nathan leaned forward, keeping his voice steady. "You're safe." "Mom's in my dreams." Ryan's voice trembles. She's smiling, but her eyes are wrong. A nurse appeared in the doorway with a package. "Mr. Hunter, this is for Ryan." Nathan intercepted the package before it reached his son. There was no return address, but he recognized Vanessa's elegant handwriting. Inside was a children's sketchbook and colored pencils. "What is it?" Ryan asked. Nothing important, Nathan said as he gathered up the package, but not before he saw what Vanessa had drawn: two disturbing sketches of Ryan wounded, bleeding, and broken, each signed Love, Mom, in floral script. His cell phone vibrated and Cole's message was brief. She's escalating. We need to talk. I'll be right back, Nathan told his son. Need to talk to the doctor. In the hallway, he found Cole waiting by the coffee machine, his friend's expression grim. She's been busy, Cole said, showing him surveillance photos. 3 packages were sent to different hospital departments, all addressed to Ryan. Sick artwork with the same content and something new. Cole pulls out his cell phone. She's sending messages to the nurses, playing the concerned mother, claiming it's you who's being abusive. Nathan's jaw is tight. She's trying to control the narrative. On a more serious note, Cole's voice lowered. My contact at the house said she broke in today and left something in Ryan's room while you were here. They drive to Nathan's house in tense silence. Everything looked normal from the outside, but they both knew more than they believed on the surface. The security system showed no intrusion, and every lock was intact, but Vanessa had been good at getting what she wanted to. Ryan's room looked just as they had left it, except for one detail. On the bed lay his favorite stuffed animal, a brown bear he'd had since birth, now dismembered, precise cuts allowing the stuffing to spill out, a note pinned to his chest that read, "No place is safe." Professional maneuver, Cole observed, examining the incision. Surgical precision. She's sending a message, Nathan said as he picked up the bear, remembering how Ryan used to cuddle it every night. Showing that she can reach him anywhere. There's more, Cole points to the wall. Hidden behind the posters, Vanessa has carved messages into the drywall. Mommy loves you and you belong to me, neatly arranged and repeated. Nathan's cell phone rings, Detective Daniel's number. Mr. Hunter, Daniel's voice dripped with false concern. We've uncovered some troubling evidence about Ryan's injuries. I need you to come to the police station. What evidence? Discuss it in person, unless you have something to hide. Be there in 30 minutes. Nathan ended the call and turned to Cole. They're on the move. It's a trap, Cole warned. Vanessa is trying to deflect blame and get you arrested. I know, Nathan grimaced. But she's not the only one collecting evidence. At the police station, Daniels waited in an interrogation room with a thick folder on the table. 2 other officers stand guard, trying to look intimidating. Thanks for coming. Daniels gestured for a chair. We have some questions about your relationship with Ryan. Really? Nathan sat down calmly. Or is Vanessa paying you to ask that? Daniel's smile slipped slightly. We have witnesses who saw you at the scene when Ryan was injured. Really? The same witnesses who saw Elliot beat him? The ones you pay to keep them quiet? Careful, Mr. Hunter. Daniels leaned forward. Accusations against the police are serious. So is taking bribes to cover up child abuse, Nathan said, placing a USB drive on his desk. Want to see your account number, the payments you collected from Elliot, the text messages coordinating the cover-up? The blood faded from Daniel's face. Where did you get that from? I protect my son, detective. You forget that when you take their money. You're bluffing. Yeah. Nathan stood up slowly. Check your private accounts, the ones in the Cayman Islands. I wonder how your superiors would react to those transfers. Daniel's hand moved toward the weapon. Are you threatening me? No, I'm educating you, Nathan said as he turned away. Ask Vanessa about Damascus and what happened to the last corrupt cop who tried to hurt my family. Outside, Cole was waiting in their surveillance van. How did it go? She's becoming desperate. Nathan checks his cell phone for more information from the hospital about further psychological warfare. Using Daniels to try to get custody. Shall I release the evidence? It's not time yet. Let her think she's winning. They drive past the hospital and watch Vanessa's black Mercedes pull into the parking lot. She gets out of the car wearing an expensive dress, playing the role of concerned mother perfectly. Security won't let her in, Cole assured. She's not trying to get in there, Nathan said as he watched her perform for witnesses, crying crocodile tears for her smartphone and reporting her pain. She's building a case where the poor mother is denied access to her injured son. A shrewd step. She's always been good at manipulation. Nathan's voice hardened. But she made a mistake in going after Ryan like that. Back at the safe house, they monitor the day's developments. Vanessa's psychological assault continues. More paintings to give to Ryan. More scenes staged for maternal concerns. More whispered accusations about Nathan to the hospital staff. She's trying to divide and conquer him. Cole observes the surveillance feed. A fine 1,000 cuts. I know, Nathan said, cleaning his weapon with mechanical precision. That's why we're moving tonight. Elliot's fight club? No, something more personal, Nathan said as he displayed surveillance photos showing Elliot's private gym. He works out alone after midnight. There were no witnesses. You intend to make him feel pain. I intend to keep him educated, Nathan said, checking his tactical gear. He needs to understand the consequences. As night falls, they prepare for the next phase. Vanessa's psychological warfare has sped up the timetable, but that only makes things clearer. No more subtle messages, no more warnings. Nathan's cell phone beeps with another update from the hospital. More of Vanessa's art. The artifacts arrive. Photos of Ryan broken and bleeding, each more detailed than the last. She won't stop, Cole said softly. No. Nathan loaded, calm and precise. That's why we're ending this tonight. They move like ghosts in the darkness, letting Vanessa play her mind games. She thought she was in control, thought she could break them through fear and pain. She's about to learn the difference between manipulating pain and understanding it, between causing fear and mastering it. Tonight, Elliot will learn what real violence feels like, and after that, Vanessa will learn what happens when you push a warrior too far, when you hurt the only thing he's protecting. She wants to play the pain game? Great, class is starting. Midnight paints the hiking trails of Montana in shades of silver and black as the half-moon hangs above the mountains, providing just the right amount of light for the hunt. Nathan and Cole make their way through the forest in practiced silence, approaching Elliot's personal training site. Target is alone, Cole reported through their comm unit. Traveled 2 miles on his regular route. They studied Elliot's habits in detail. Every night after a fight, he'd run on these trails, a ritual he believed made him tough. Tonight, he would be taught a different lesson about toughness. Remember, Nathan's voice was cold in the darkness. This isn't a quickie, this is an education. They parted, taking parallel routes through the woods. Elliot's running feet echoed ahead, heavy and confident, the voice of a man who had never faced a real predator. Nathan clicked his radio twice to signal. Cole's voice came back, in position. Elliot rounded the bend, his breath forming steam in the frigid air. He wore expensive running gear, and his demeanor carried the arrogance of someone used to being feared. That would change. The first warning came from the whisper of the woods. You have hurt my son. Elliot turned, fists raised. Who's there? You assaulted a child. Nathan's voice seemed to come from all directions. Make yourself feel strong. Hunter, said Elliot, pulling his pistol from his waistband and brandishing it in an expansive arc. Finally got the balls to step up. Put the gun down. Elliot, it won't help you. Yeah. Elliot fired 3 shots into the darkness. Come out and face me like a man. The gun vanished from his hand, stripped so quickly that he barely felt it. Nathan emerged from the shadows, holding Elliot's weapon like a professor with a textbook. You mean like when you confronted my 10-year-old son? Elliot swings a punch and Nathan catches him and twists, bringing the bigger man to his knees with mechanical precision. You're making this harder than it needs to be, Nathan said as he applied more pressure and felt his tendons tense. We need to talk about consequences. I'll kill you. Elliot tried to get up, but a boot on his spine pinned him down again. Do you think you scare me? No. Nathan let go of him and took a step back. Not yet, but I will. Elliot struggled to his feet, spitting blood and anger. Vanessa is right about you, being soft, weak, pathetic, and following the rules while real men take what they want. A real man. Another blow brought Elliot back to his knees. Real men don't hurt children. Your boy. Elliot grinned through bloody teeth. Should have listened to him scream and watched him beg. The words hung suspended in the frozen air. Nathan's expression didn't change, but the temperature seemed to drop. Thanks, he said softly. Why? To remove all doubt. Nathan nodded to Cole, who emerged from the woods. To make this easy, what follows is not a fight, but a dismantling. Each blow calculated, each strike designed to inflict maximum pain without unconsciousness. Nathan moves with surgical precision, taking down Elliot piece by piece. Ribs first, Nathan explained calmly, demonstrating. Just like you did with Ryan. Feel that? That's what you did to my son. Elliot tries to block, to fight back, but his street fighting is useless against military precision. Every attempt at self-defense becomes another lesson in pain. Next is the arm. Nathan trapped Elliot's limb, applying careful pressure. The exact same position as you snapped his. Listen to that break. Please. Elliot gasped as bones gave in. I'm so sorry. No, Nathan's voice held steady. You're not sorry for hurting him. You're sorry for facing the consequences. Cole was on perimeter watch while documenting everything. He knew, making evidence for what was to come. Vanessa will kill you for this. Elliot spat between broken teeth. Vanessa, said Nathan, kneeling beside him. Vanessa wouldn't come. Just like she didn't stop you from hurting Ryan. She just watched, didn't she? Encourage it. Elliot's eyes widened. How do you know Dash? Because I know her and how she thinks. Nathan checks his watch. She's probably calling you right now, wondering why you're late. As if in response, the cell phone in Elliot's jacket rang. Nathan removed it and put it on speaker. Elliot, said Vanessa, her voice impatient. Where are you? We need to talk about the next phase. Vanessa, hi, Nathan replied. Elliot can't talk right now. He is learning what real pain feels like if you hurt him as you hurt our son. The line was silent for 3 heartbeats. Nathan? Elliot. Elliot can't answer the phone right now, but don't worry, he's still breathing, temporarily. I'll call the police. No, you wouldn't, because then you'd have to explain the videos, the text messages, all the evidence that you orchestrated Ryan's abuse. Another moment of silence. Then, what do you want? I want you to understand what you've created. Every time you hurt Ryan, every time you let this animal touch our son, you're framing this moment. Remember that. Nathan ended the call and turned to Elliot. She won't help you. That's not her style. She watches others suffer and smiles. Just kill me. Elliot gasped through broken ribs. Kill you? Nathan laughed. No, you don't deserve a quick death. The next hour is a masterclass on controlling violence. Every technique Elliot uses on Ryan is returned to him with professional expertise. Eventually, he's hanging from a tree, alive, but wishing he wasn't. The police will find you soon, Nathan told him. They'll think it was suicide and feel guilty about what you did. You'd make them think that, wouldn't you? Elliot nodded weakly. Because if you don't, if you try to tell them the truth, the video that hurt my son will go public. Your entire organization exposed. Everything burns. Why? Elliot's voice was almost a whisper. Why don't you just kill me? Because death is too quick. Nathan checks his restraints one last time. You need to live with this. Remember it every time you look in the mirror, every time you want to hurt someone weaker than you. They leave Elliot hanging there, broken but breathing, with a message for others who might follow his path, but more importantly, a message for Vanessa. In the car, Cole reviews the footage. She'll escalate after this and take a direct shot at Ryan. I know, Nathan said, cleaning the blood from his knuckles with mechanical precision. That's exactly what I was expecting. His cell phone rings with another message from the hospital. Vanessa is there again, but something is different. Security cameras showed her smiling as she left. She's planning something, Cole observed. Good. Nathan started the engine. Let her plan. Let her think she's in control. They drive through the night, monitoring the police channels. Elliot is found, as expected, and the scene is ruled a suicide attempt, with no questions asked and no investigation required. But Vanessa's reaction is more worrying. No anger, no threats, just that cold smile as she leaves the hospital. She's out to get him, Cole finally said. Trying to hurt you through Ryan for the last time. Yes, Nathan's expression hardened. When she does, she'll know what happens when you push someone too far. When you create something you can't control. The Montana nights stretched ahead of them, cold and unforgiving. Somewhere in that darkness, Vanessa is making plans, believing she still holds the power. She's about to learn a different truth about the monsters she created with her own cruelty, the demons she unleashed with her own hands. The hospital corridors echoed with the sound of rushing footsteps, and the alarm bells cut through the silence of the late night. Nathan ran toward Ryan's hospital room, the emergency lights casting scarlet shadows on the walls. The power had been cut off abruptly 10 minutes ago, plunging the entire floor into darkness. Security cameras are off. Cole's voice crackled through the headset. The backup generator has been sabotaged. Nathan rushes around the corner at full speed, and the guard who was supposed to be standing guard at Ryan's door falls to the ground, unconscious, with pinholes visible in his neck. The hospital room is empty, the sheets twisted and showing signs of struggle. On the pillow sits a note, written in Vanessa's elegant handwriting, stained with Ryan's blood. "Let's end this. Just you and me." "Cole." Nathan's voice was arctic cold. "Tell me you can locate them." "Working on it." "She disabled the hospital security system, but I have traffic cameras." Cole's fingers flew over the keyboard in the command center. Black Mercedes spotted, heading northbound on Highway 93, 2 heat sources inside. Nathan kneels beside the fallen guard and checks for a pulse. Still alive. Vanessa wants witnesses. How long ago? For minutes. She's great at matching the power failures at shift changeovers and taking advantage of the chaos to take cover. She's not great, Nathan said as he stood up, already moving. She's desperate. Get me and Detective Daniels. The line came on after 2 rings. Hunter, busy with Elliot's suicide. Vanessa took Ryan. Nathan's voice cut in like a blade. For minutes ago, northbound on Highway 93. Jesus, Daniel's corrupt arrogance cracks. Look, what happened before Dash? Save it. You can put police on the highway if you want to redeem yourself, but understand this. Anyone who helps her disappear with my son dies first. Understand. Understood. Daniel's voice trembled slightly. I'll call. Nathan started the truck, and the engine roared to life. Cole, give me an intercept route. She's going off the road now, toward that old cabin. Cole said with grim understanding in his voice. The one you bought her during your marriage. Of course, Nathan pressed harder on the gas. She's going to make it personal. The cabin is deep in the Montana wilderness, accessible only by unmarked roads. They had spent time there the summer before their divorce, before Vanessa showed her true nature. She's 10 minutes ahead of you, Cole reported, but she's walking carefully to avoid patrols. Because she wants me to follow. Nathan checks his weapon. This is her endgame. Surveillance shows she prepared the cabin and installed security cameras last week. What else? Thermal imaging shows she reinforced the door, barred the windows. Cole paused. And she had Ryan's medication there. The intent is clear. Vanessa isn't just running away. She's setting the stage for the final performance. Nathan's cell phone rings. Vanessa's number. Miss me. Her voice took on that familiar, cruel pleasure. If you hurt them, what else can you do? Kill me like you killed Elliot? She smiled softly. No. Nathan, you need to listen very carefully. You will experience what real pain feels like. A suppressed cry came from the background. Daddy, please Dash. The voice broke off in a sharp gasp. Hear that? Vanessa's voice became silky smooth. That's just the beginning. Every minute you reach us, every second you waste, I will teach our son about pain and show him what his father's weakness cost him. This isn't going to end the way you think it will, Vanessa. No, her tone became sharp. I think it's going to end with you watching me carve my signature into him, watching me show you how weak you really are. You're forgetting something important, Vanessa. Nathan's voice stayed steady. You're forgetting Damascus. The line went quiet for 2 heartbeats. What? Ask Elliot about Damascus, about what happens when someone pushes too far, when they hurt the families of the wrong people. Elliot is dead, but uncertainty crept into her voice. The police found what I hoped they would find, but Elliot is not dead. Vanessa, he's alive, broken but alive, learning what happens when you cross certain lines. You're bluffing. Now check your cell phone. I'm sending evidence. Cole transmits video of Elliot in the hospital, covered in a cast and bandages, whispering confessions to police, explaining how the guilt of hurting Ryan drove him to attempt suicide. Impossible. Vanessa's composure cracked. You can't possibly. I warned you, Nathan said as he guided his truck toward the unmarked road leading to the cabin. I told you what would happen if you hurt my boy. Now you will understand the meaning of that warning. I'll kill him. Hysteria seeped into her voice. I swear I'll. No, you won't. Because now you're starting to remember, starting to understand what you've created. Nathan's voice became softer, more dangerous. I'm coming, Vanessa, and when I get there, you'll learn about the real monster. He ended the call, and the cabin came into view, the light from the windows casting harsh shadows on the surrounding forest. Heat source shows 3 signals, Cole reported. Vanessa is in the main room. Ryan is in the back bedroom. And there's another signal I can't identify. She's bringing backup, Nathan said as he pulled out of sight and checked his gear. Want me to call tactical for backup? No, said Nathan, moving through the woods like a ghost. This has to be private, just her and me. She's unstable and unpredictable. Good. Nathan observed the hut like a trained predator. Fear makes people stupid, makes them make mistakes. The cabin's security cameras were easy to spot, amateurishly working to cover obvious angles. Vanessa thought like a civilian, focusing on the entrances and windows, forgetting the many other ways a trained operator could enter the building. Turn off the power, Nathan ordered. Give me 30 seconds of darkness. The cabin falls into darkness as Nathan moves to enter. He hears Vanessa's frustrated screams, followed by Ryan's suppressed cries. You can't stop this, Nathan, Vanessa's voice echoed through the cabin. You're still the same weak man who can't keep his family together. Nathan didn't respond. No need. Actions will speak louder than words. In the darkness, Vanessa was about to learn the difference between causing pain and understanding it, between causing fear and mastering it. She thought she'd created a monster she could control, and she was wrong. Montana's wilderness stretches around the cabin, dark and infinite. Nathan moves through the shadows with deadly purpose, each step calculated. Behind him, Cole maintains communication silence, watching for heat sources to move. The cabin's windows flicker with blinding light, creating a false island of warmth on a chilly night. Vanessa has carefully chosen this battleground isolated, easily defended, and full of memories, the perfect stage for her final performance. There's movement in there, Cole whispered through his headset. Vanessa is pacing in the main room, and Ryan's heat signature shows a racing heartbeat. Nathan responded through his headset. What about the third signal? By the back door, stationary and armed. She hired muscle. Let me handle this. Nathan checked the gear one last time. She needs to really understand what she's created. Through the window of the hut, they could see Vanessa moving restlessly. She held something in her hand, the blade of a knife reflecting the light as she gestured. You're out there, aren't you? Her voice came through the wall. Surveillance, plans. Tell me, Nathan, how does it feel to know that your son is crying for you? There was a muffled thud from the back room, and Ryan tried to shout through whatever noise she was using. Shut up, Vanessa's voice cracked with anger. You have no say unless I allow it. Nathan's radio crackled. Police channel active, Cole reported. Daniels is coordinating search teams, but he's sending them east to buy us time. Good, Nathan said as he moved closer, using the trees as cover. The security system was amateur stuff, cameras at obvious angles, basic motion sensors. She thinks like a civilian, she always has. Nathan reaches the blind spot of the cabin, a section of wall between the sensors. Time to remind her what professionals are like. He pulls out his cell phone and dials Vanessa's number. She answered on the first ring, finally ready to beg. Her voice dripped with false sweetness. You helped train Ryan's dog, didn't you? Nathan kept his tone conversational. Remember what you taught him about tracking prey? What? How to round up, how to cut off escape routes, how to make the target feel safe before striking. If you try to scare me, dash. No, Vanessa, I'm educating you, teaching you what a real hunter is like. There was a loud thud from inside, and Vanessa's composure was slipping. You can't touch me. I've got mercenaries at the back door, ex-military, probably expensive. Her breath caught. How did you know, dash? I see everything. Vanessa, just like I see everything you did to Ryan, every bruise, every break, every time you smiled when Elliot hurt him. He needs discipline. Hysteria seeped into her voice. You made him weak, just like you did. No, you've just never understood power, Nathan said as he moved closer, keeping quiet despite the frosty ground. True power isn't about hurting people, it's about precise control, something you're losing right now. Through the window, he could see her spinning in circles, knives flashing, fear having replaced her usual calm calculation. I'll kill him, she screamed into the phone. I swear I'll dash. No, you won't. Nathan's voice became softer, more dangerous. Because now you're starting to remember, starting to understand what happens when you push someone too far. You're nothing. Her hand trembled as she gripped the knife. A pathetic man playing soldier. Damascus, the word hung in the frozen air. Remember Damascus, Vanessa, What happened to the last person who threatened my family? The knife fell from between her fingers, and true fear finally showed in her eyes. Right, Nathan said as he watched her turn toward the non-existent shadows. You remember now what I was before you met me, what I can do when someone hurts someone I love. You're bluffing, you can't. Check the back door and see how your expensive mercenary is doing. Vanessa ran to the back of the hut, her screams telling him that she had found the carefully placed unconscious guards carrying a message. It's impossible. Her voice quivered through the phone. No one can dash. I warned you. Nathan moved to his final position. I told you what would happen if you hurt my boy. Now you will understand the meaning of that warning. Internally, Vanessa fires several wild rounds out the window, emptying her pistol's magazine and showing her panic as each bullet sparks through the trees. Face me, she screamed into the darkness. Stop hiding and face me. But I'm facing you. Nathan's voice came from everywhere and seemingly nowhere. I'm right here, teaching you about fear, about consequences. Her gun clicked empty. The sound echoed through the hut like a death knell. You remember now, don't you? Nathan continued, as she frantically reloaded. What the police found after Damascus, what the people who hurt my team left behind. Stop. Another wild shot into the darkness. Just stop. Can't stop. Vanessa, not until you understand, really understand what kind of demon you've created. A small voice cut into the chaos. Daddy? Ryan shouted from the back room. Vanessa turns to the sound and raises her gun, a fatal mistake. The cabin plunges into darkness as Cole cuts the power, Vanessa's screams mingling with the sound of shattering glass in the sudden darkness. The hunt is over. It's time to clear the air. The darkness turned the cabin into a labyrinth of shadows, and Vanessa fired blindly into the darkness. Each muzzle flash temporarily blinding her as the gunshots echoed off the walls, muffling other sounds such as the soft whispers of movement behind her. Where are you? Her voice cracked with panic. Show yourself. I'm everywhere. Nathan's words seemed to come from every corner. Just like the fear you taught Ryan. Remember the way he cringed when you smiled, when he checked every shade. Something skimmed past her in the darkness, and Vanessa spun, firing again, the bullet splintering through the wood and accomplishing nothing. Don't play games. She backed up into what she assumed was the kitchen. Play a game with me. Game? Nathan's voice held real curiosity. Like the games you play with your son? The little painting you gave him shows what you would do to him. He needs to learn, Vanessa said, leaning her back against the counter. You're making him soft. No. The voice came directly from behind her. You just never understood power. Vanessa spins, slashing away with her knife, and Nathan grabs her wrist with mechanical precision, applying pressure to a specific nerve. The knife falls to the floor with a clank. You see, he continued in a conversational tone, real power isn't about hurting people, it's about control. She tried to break free of his grip, but years of civilian life had softened her. Let go of me or I'll dash. What's going to happen to you? Nathan let go of her and retreated into the darkness. Hit me like you hit Ryan? Tell me, when he cries, does that make you feel powerful? Shut up. Vanessa fumbled for a weapon and found a kitchen knife. You don't know anything. I understand everything. Nathan's voice moved around her. I understand how you chose Elliot carefully, how you watched him hurt our son and smiled, how you planned every bruise, every break. He deserved it. Hysteria seeped into her voice. Crying for that stupid bear, begging to be called you. The knife disappeared from her hand, and she didn't even see him move. Bear. Nathan's voice hardened. The one you shredded in his bed? Tell me, Vanessa, are you enjoying this? In his own room to keep him scared. I'm teaching him, she said, backing away from his voice. Making him understand dash. Understand what? His mother was a monster? Should the people who love him the most enjoy his pain the most? A voice came from the back room, causing them all to turn around. Ryan still calling out for his father. Don't you dare. Vanessa moved toward the voice, but invisible hands grabbed her and spun her against the wall, finally giving her a clear view of him. He's mine, she struggled. My son. No, Nathan said as he turned her to the wall, finally giving her a clear view of him. When you hurt him, when you chose cruelty over love, you lost that right. She stared into his eyes and saw something that chilled her blood. Not anger, not hatred, just calm, professional purpose. What are you going to do? Her voice trembled slightly. Kill me. Kill you. Nathan laughed, an expression that made her wince. No, Vanessa, death is too soon. You will live and live to remember what happened when you hurt my family. She tried to knee him, but he moved like water and willed her own momentum back at her. She crashed into the furniture, disoriented. You can't do that. Panic replaced her usual control. I'll tell everyone. The police, like Detective Daniels Dash. Like the one that's already admitted to taking bribes to cover up child abuse. Nathan's voice held an almost gentle humor. You're lying. Check your cell phone. The video has gone viral. What a touching story, Elliot's confession, about how guilt drove him to attempt suicide. Vanessa fumbles with her phone, seeing the truth in headlines and shared videos, her carefully constructed world crumbling with every swipe. No. The cell phone slipped from his feeble fingers. This can't be. But it does, Nathan said, moving like a ghost in the shadows. Everything you've built, every piece of power you thought you had, all gone, your reputation, your freedom, everything. I'll find a way, she said as she grabbed another knife off the counter. I always find a way. Not this time. Nathan disarmed her with insulting ease. This time you will learn the consequences. What happens when you push someone too far? A voice behind her made Vanessa turn as Cole stood in the doorway leading to Ryan's room, the boy safely behind him. Dad. Ryan's voice was small but steady. It's okay, man, Nathan said without ever taking his eyes off Vanessa. Close your eyes for a minute. This won't take long. You can't take him. Vanessa rushed forward, all pretense of control gone. He's mine. What happens next is not a fight, but a lesson in helplessness. Every move she makes is countered, every attack turned on herself. Nathan moves with surgical precision, never hurting her, just showing how completely powerless she is. Look, his voice stayed calm throughout. That's what Ryan felt, what you made him feel. Helpless, afraid, unable to stop what was happening. Please, she gasped, another attack failing. I'm his mother. No. Nathan caught her last desperate blow. You were just the monster who hurt him, the demon who taught him about pain. And now, he laughed, that horrible smile reappearing. Now you'll learn about pain. Vanessa saw something in his expression that completely broke her. Not violence, not revenge, but the absolute certainty that her world was ending. What are you going to do to me? I told you that you would live to watch everything you've built come crashing down, when every person you've hurt testifies, when every crime you've committed comes to light. He let go of her and took a step back. Vanessa collapsed to the floor, her perfect mask finally shattering. Take him, her voice was hollow. Take everything. No, Vanessa, you don't understand. Nathan moved to his son and took him in his arms. I'm not taking anything away. You destroyed it yourself, every choice, every cruel moment. You built this ending with your own hands. Sirens were heard in the distance, not by Daniel's corrupt officers, but by the state police, and real justice was approaching. One last thing, Nathan turned to the door. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you try to break the unbreakable, when you create a monster beyond your control. They left her, surrounded by the ruins of her power. Through the window, they could see police lights coloring the trees red and blue. Justice is coming, but not quick justice, not merciful justice, but the kind that strips away everything piece by piece until only remorse and memory remain, just like she tried to do to Ryan, just like she created with her own cruelty. The state troopers' lights cast alternating red and blue hues across the Montana forest as Vanessa sat in the back of her patrol car, her perfect makeup blistered by tears, watching her world crumble piece by piece. Evidence bags filled with her artifacts of Ryan, computer records showing her orchestrating the abuse, Elliot's video confession playing on the officer's cell phone. Detective Weber, from the state police, reviews the files on the tablet with Nathan. We've got her completely under control, the detective said. Child abuse, conspiracy, kidnapping, and she's facing at least 20 years in prison. Make sure she serves every day. Nathan looked at Vanessa through the car window. No deals, no mercy. Weber's expression hardened. Trust me, prosecutors hate these types of cases, especially with evidence like this. There are other kids, Weber said, showing more documents. Elliot wasn't her first partner. We found records going back years, different towns, different names, always targeting single parents, always hurting children. Nathan absorbs this information with an unchanged expression. She'll try to manipulate the system and cast a charm. Not this time, Weber said as he showed them more documents. Your friend Cole's evidence is ironclad. Every text, every email, every video, all authenticated. She has nowhere to run. Through the patrol car window, Vanessa's eyes met Nathan's, and she spoke wordlessly. He couldn't hear, but her expression said it all: hate, fear, the desperate rage of a predator caught in a trap. Do you want to talk to her? Weber asked. Last chance, before we escort her. Nathan considers for a moment, then shakes his head. There's nothing more to say. He turns away and walks towards the ambulance where the paramedics are checking on Ryan. The boy sat, wrapped in a blanket, with Cole keeping watch. Hey, man. Nathan knelt beside his son. You okay? I'm fine. Ryan's voice was soft but steady. Her. Mommy didn't hurt me this time. She just scared me. You were very brave. Nathan touched his son's intact hand. Braver than she can comprehend. She said things about you, about things you've done. I know, Nathan said, looking his son straight in the eye. The truth is, I've done things I'm not proud of, but everything I've done has been for protection, to stop monsters from hurting people. Like you protected me? Exactly. The paramedics finish their examination and allow Ryan to leave. As they walk toward Nathan's truck, the boy stops and looks back at the police car. Dad, do you think she ever loved me, even a little? Nathan chooses his words carefully. I don't think she can understand love like a normal person. For her, love is about control, about owning people. But you love me differently. Yes, Nathan said as he took his son into his arms. True love is about protection, about doing whatever it takes to keep someone safe. Cole approached, his expression grim. They found more stuff at her house. Programs for other families, other children. She intends to expand her operation. Not anymore. Nathan's voice took on a conclusive tone. Now all she can do is watch everything burn. Through the trees, they could hear Vanessa screaming as the officers found more evidence. Her perfect mask shattering completely to reveal the monster beneath. It's time to go home, Nathan said softly. Months passed. Winter gave way to spring, and the snow began to melt in the Montana mountains. From their new home, near Flathead Lake, Nathan watches Ryan's slow but steady recovery. The trial makes national news as Vanessa's crimes are exposed to the world. Elliot testifies from his hospital bed, still bearing the marks of Nathan's education. Detective Daniels pleads guilty to a crime that reveals years of corruption. But more importantly, Ryan smiled again. The nightmares became less frequent, and the flinch at sudden movements disappeared. One morning they stood by the lake and watched the sunrise turn its waters golden. Ryan held a new stuffed bear, different from the one Vanessa had destroyed, but carefully chosen. Dad, Ryan's voice was stronger now, more confident. Can we get a dog? A real dog. Sure, man, any variety you want. A big dog, the kind that protects people, like you. Nathan smiled, seeing signs of recovery in his son's words, like both of us. The strong protect others, remember. Not like Mom. Ryan's voice carried a new understanding. She thought hurting people made her strong. That's right, real power is about protection, making sure monsters can't hurt innocent people. They toss rocks across the lake, each ripple carrying away more toxins from the past. Somewhere in a maximum security prison, Vanessa sits in isolation, writing letters that will never be delivered, plotting plans that will never come to fruition. She created this ending with her own cruelty, building it piece by piece with every bruise, every cruel word, every moment of pain for an innocent child. The monster she tried to create turned on her, showing her what true power looks like and what happens when you push someone too far. Dad, Ryan's voice pulled him back to the present. Are you okay? Yeah, man, Nathan said as he took his son into his arms. Just thinking about options. What kind of choice? The choices that change us, that make us stronger or weaker, better or worse. Ryan considers this question with the simple wisdom characteristic of a child, like choosing to protect people rather than hurt them. Exactly. They stood together, watching the sun climb high into the sky. Behind them, their new home waited, safe, calm, and free of shadows. Cole would visit later in the day, bringing books and games to help build new memories to replace the old ones. Life will go on, wounds will heal, but some lessons will remain, etched deep in bones and memories. Real monsters don't hide under beds or in closets. They wear familiar faces and friendly smiles. Real power isn't about causing pain, it's about preventing it. Sometimes when you try to break the unbreakable, you only forge it stronger, creating something beyond your control, not a victim, but a protector, not a target, but a warrior, a demon of your own making, coming home to clear the air. As the first hint of summer warmth touches the lake, Nathan watches Ryan build a birdhouse with an act of creation rather than destruction. Ryan's laughter echoes through the air, pure and carefree, a child regaining his childhood. Nathan meets Cole's gaze and sees the understanding there. Some battles never really end. Some guards never fully drop. But in this moment, there is peace. "We'll be fine," Ryan said, as if reading his father's thoughts. His tiny hand slipped into Nathan's, warm and firm. "We're all safe now." Nathan clutched that hand, felt its strength, its trust, its unconditional love. "Yeah, man," he said, eyes scanning the horizon, habitually checking for threats, then relaxing. "We're safe. In a way, this is the final victory, not Vanessa's destruction, not Elliot's shattering, but Ryan's ability to learn to trust again, to feel safe again." The real monsters are kept behind stone walls, but more importantly, they are stripped of their power. Cruelty and fear no longer reign on the shores of this serene lake. Instead, there is love, protection, and an unwavering commitment that true power exists in connection, not control, in healing, not harm. Nathan Hunter has walked in darkness and done things no one else could have imagined. But here, in the sunlight, he finds a way home not through violence, but through what he's willing to do to protect those most precious to him. It was an expression of love in its purest form, and a lesson his son would carry into the future. That true power is not in what you can do to others, but in what you are willing to do for them. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.